Gotcha.
The next stops are on courses C.
My name is Josie, Boyce. I use she, her pronouns. And otherwise you can say, hey, you, or whatever, I'll answer. I started doing digital painting on my iPad a couple of years ago. And I sort of came up with this character, Straw Girl, because I can't draw hands. So she has straw coming out of her sleeves and in her feet, and sometimes it pops out of her clothing and whatnot. And the paintings, she's always sort of at the end or the beginning of some sort of strange adventure. She kind of looks like me. She has gray hair with some color, some brown or black color in her hair. And she kind of changes shape. Sometimes she's a little chubbier, sometimes she's a little slim. It really depends on how I'm feeling at the time. Sometimes the paintings are very cathartic, and maybe there's a really obvious emotion that I've been dealing with that shows up in the painting. And I feel that it's very similar in that sense to my poetry in the past. So I feel like these paintings are actually kind of the poetry I'm doing these days. Poets are sculptors. You start with a big block of text. You write, and then you sculpt it down into something that is what it is. And sometimes you don't know what the poem's about. And it's the same thing with the paintings. I'm a person in transition, right? And I like to say I've been transitioning my whole life. It's just the last few years have sort of been more sped up.
This vehicle is leaving the station. Please hold on. The door is closed.
And I think for a long time, my transition was my poetry, because that was where the poems that I was writing were somebody who was struggling to come to their real self, who was trans, and struggling with maybe not wanting to be trans. A lot of people, you don't want to come out because you're too scared of it, right? And so you try really hard to be that thing that everybody assumes you are, right? And I think my poetry was a way to stand out from that thing that I assumed everybody thought I was, no matter how much I was out or in the closet, right? That was where I could be me. And even now, Straw Girl paintings, it's the same kind of deal. All the little dresses are black. Begin with eyelids painted drippy blue, and contrive to tremble, corsets over, under, and damp inside. Cold, feral crucifixation. Dance and stamp, arms pale and akimbo. Rake red vampire nails across shoulder blades. Shear away the weight of fallen veils. Anticipate a pebbled face squandered in stubbly pink flesh. Write with a plum lipstick documents composed of these and other disguises. See a regretful, hairy man who only feels beautiful in a little black dress. That kind of vibe of like you're creating, from a bigger thing into something, where there's your art, right? I feel like that's also my life, is that, I've tried a lot of things, I've done a lot of jobs, I dabble in every single art form pretty much that you can do. And I'm happy doing all of them. I have no interest in being somebody who's super focused on one thing. I find that really boring. I got a lot to say, and this gives me other ways to say it.